Welcome to the Bowling Ball Podcast. We have a special guest today, Ben ABO. How do you pronounce your name?
ABO, you said it right.
What?
3 letters, most commonly mispronounced name, but you got it right.
Bam. All right, so we're going to sit down and have a little talk today. And first, we're going to get to kind of know you a little bit. So where does it all start? Where were you born and where are you from?
Well, I was raised in South Jersey, right outside of Philadelphia. I refused to grow up, so I don't say I grew up there. And I actually started in EMS the day after I turned 16 in South Jersey, Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Very busy suburban area. Did our own rescue and all too. And then I did undergrad at University of Pittsburgh, where I actually studied my Bachelor's of Sciences in EMS with some of the greats that started EMS. The National Standard Curriculum was written by Walt Stoy, who the director of my program. CPR invented in Pittsburgh by Peter Saffer, who I met when I was in paramedic school. Some just absolute global greats in EMS. So I studied EMS there and then actually started working there right afterwards. So I was teaching and doing international consulting in EMS, doing system development, teaching, research. And then after a few years, I was like, I want to do more EMS, and I can do more of that as a physician, because Pittsburgh's very dominated in terms of EMS. Even the ER doctors know EMS. It's their residency is part of their training and all.
Okay.
Real just working together. So after a few years, and I was working full-time as a paramedic. I was a flight paramedic. I was doing tech rescue, everything. And up there, the system is very different than down here.
Like how?
So down here, we're Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. So we do it all. It's all fire-based system. Within the city of Pittsburgh, it's EMS does that all.
Got it.
The fire department, they're all named Lucas, right? So they dispatch for CPR, and they put wet stuff on hot stuff, serve and reset. Great guys. Absolutely great guys. But they don't do anything medical. Nothing paramedic. Most of them aren't even EMTs, basic.
Wow.
The Bureau of EMS, paramedic rescue, does all the tech rescue. So what I call rescue and heavy rescue is what you call TRT down here.
Got it.
And some places call squad. So we did it all as dual medic, high angle, SWAT, everything. And that was my jam, like MacGyver medicine and all. And doing the international consulting system development, that got me really into wilderness medicine and austere medicine, because you have to MacGyver stuff. We can't just be like, I'm going to call heavy one. Oh, I'm going to call platform 34, rescue 76, da-da-da-da-da. You had to really do it a lot different. So, and I even helped start an ambulance service in southern India just before I moved to India. Yeah. Southern India in the tropics.
How did we get over there?
I flew. But so basically they were looking for initially someone to help teach ACLS and BLS to doctors and nurses in India. And the guy called me at February and he's like, hey, can you go for a few weeks in March? And I'm like, I'm an instructor at the University of Pittsburgh. I can't just pick up and go in the middle of a semester. Paramedic classes, things like that. He said, but I can give you several months in the summer. So I hang with the guy. He talks to other people. They're like, yeah, I was talking to this Ben ABO guy. Do you know who that is? Da-da-da. And then he realized, calls me back. He's like, I've been trying to do this. So all of a sudden I moved over to India for 4 months. Food was amazing.
Love Indian food.
And there's a big difference between northern Indian food and southern Indian food. And it is just...
Do tell.
Most Indian restaurants in the United States is northern style, which is delicious. But southern, they use different
Chicken tikka
oils.
masala.
Oh, my God. Biryanis, which is the rice-based with a lot of heat. Oh, it's...
Curry.
I think I know what we need to do for lunch. My treat. So, yeah, but it was cool. Like, I literally used a work elephant for tech rescue. A bus went over a hillside, and to stabilize it, you can't be like, oh, let's, chalk it up and use airbags. So this work elephant that they just given me a ride on, like as a, hey, Ben, like cool kind of thing. Mm-hmm. People don't ride on work elephants, except I did. Yeah, it was weird. And then I recognized where we were, and literally this bull elephant comes with the chains, and it took 5 of us to lift the chains and put it through the A post and like the F post of the bus, about halfway down.
Going down.
And then the elephant just grabbed it with its trunk and just kind of leaned back, and we were able to get on safely and get people off. It was nuts.
Made it happen.
Made it happen. So that was before medical school.
Wow.
And then
Doing big things.
I did med school in San Francisco at a
Just came back from San Francisco.
yeah,
Yeah.
awesome city.
Love it.
I miss the Bay Area. Toro University, and I actually invented the mascot is Benny the Bull. It's a bull with curly hair and a goatee. I think you can guess why.
Even I knew Doc has curly.
Yeah, and yes, he does. That's why I hired him.
Bam.
So yeah, I did that there, and then actually, even during medical school, I was still doing my teaching. I was coming back and working either on the helicopter or the ambulance. Sorry, rescue. I was doing a dual degree in med school and master's of public health to do
I
more
barely
of the
even wanted to go to
international.
school, and you doing all these things, man.
I don't know. Whatever I could do to help people and grow. I love learning different cultures, learning different stuff. I find it interesting.
Where else did you start an ambulance company?
That's so I was Uganda and Ethiopia. You're going to have to believe it. Can you believe it?
Wow.
More Africa jokes for you. I was out. We were doing what we call barley rounds, where after public health class, we would go out for some drinks if we drank whatever. And we were talking about what would make a big difference for maternal mortality, trauma, like mothers and their babies and delivering safely. And people are like, oh, we'll build hospitals. Oh, we're going to build more medical schools. And I'm like, that stuff is great, but you don't have people to staff it. What about getting people public education? What about getting people to what you already have? And so literally I look up and there's a MetLife commercial on TV. And who's a common spokesperson for MetLife? Snoopy and Woodstock. And growing up, they would always drive around in little sidecars. And I was like, you know what? You can't just take an ambulance or a rescue and pop it over in different places. System, it's a lot of expensive parts, more moving parts, more things that can break. I mean, there's fire truck and ambulance graveyards around the world. We've donated countless retired rescues from Miami-Dade, and they're just sitting in a grass field somewhere. Good intentions, but they can't maintain them, especially now, with the computers and all. Nonetheless, it's like, I can do this. So some friends and I started a nonprofit called Urgent, which stood for Understanding Relevant Global Emergencies and Training. Yes, the N was in the middle of the word. But so picture a dirt bike with a sidecar modified as an off-road ambulance. I can basically make 15 of them for the price of one Jeep with no medical equipment. And so I was in this debate. Do I take off between third and fourth year of medical school? Do I finish medical school and then do this? Or do I spread fourth year over 2 years? Well, I decided to do some trips during my fourth year, quick graduate, so I can not keep paying more loans. And then I moved to Africa for a bit. So usually you do your bachelor's degree, you do med school 4 years, you do residency, which is where you're trained for your specialty, which mine is emergency. And then you can do fellowship, which is a subspecialty. So me, I did my bachelor's, took years off doing work, then did medical school, then took a year off, and then I moved to Africa during that year off, and that's when I then moved down here to Miami Beach.
Wow.
And I did residency here. At the same time, I did an online fellowship in wilderness medicine, and that's when I started doing stuff with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. I actually had a connection, one of my old mentors from when I was 16, he was the assistant director of emergency management, Jonathan Lord, here at Miami-Dade Fire Rescue. So when I came into town, hadn't seen him in years, just kind of doing stuff. So I actually volunteered during residency with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue EM. They never had a physician to give input, and I have emergency management disaster background. So I was able to kind of do stuff and give input, and then started, because I'm a total nerd about all things rescue and EMS and fire. So I started hanging around more, and that's how I got more affiliated with the Venom units and ultimately urban search and rescue.
Wow, glad to have you, man. So, let's go back a little bit. We kind of sped through your whole life. You've accomplished more than I've done. Oh, but how are you as a child? Have you always wanted to be a doctor? Do you always know what you wanted to do?
No, absolutely not. I actually thought I was going to be a musician and a composer. I was in every music group except for the all girls choir. I was all about music, playing drums and piano, percussion.
Sax?
No wind instruments and stuff.
Sexiest. That's the sexiest
It
freaking.
absolutely is. And fun fact, I really wanted to. However, when I was 8 years old, I was actually hit by a baseball bat, and my front
How
teeth
do we
are
go
false.
past that?
Huh?
How do we go past that?
It was this weird accident. Summer came. Believe it or not, I was a pretty decent baseball player and athlete until that. So I get, they didn't give me a mask at summer camp, and I stood back. I'm not dumb, ish, and so I couldn't catch the ball. So it bounced. I bent over to pick up the ball. The kid, Justin Bonaviticola, I still
remember his
forgive you.
name?
I know where he lives. He still lives up in Jersey, Philly area. Nonetheless, he took a practice swing and just knocked some of my teeth out. So when I got to then fourth grade, I'm talking, I started music stuff when I was 5 years old, like officially playing and doing stuff. I just loved it. Even first grade, half an hour before I would get on the bus, I'd be playing. My mom didn't mind. Anyway, so they wouldn't let me play any wind instruments. I really wanted to play saxophone because it is a cool instrument. It is a sexy instrument. And it's a lot more portable than drum set or piano, right? So, so I did the other stuff. So I'm starting to maybe I'll start and try, but it was a very expensive mouth.
I could imagine.
But doing all the music stuff was always what I thought I was doing. I was very good at sciences. I was like, maybe genetics, this and that. But always going back. You remember Micro Machines?
No.
The commercials were the guy with the thick mustache that would talk really, really fast. Like it was little toy cars. They were this big. And I had hundreds of them. I had Legos.
Everybody had Legos.
And I had Micro Machines, right? And most of them were all fire trucks, police cars, ambulances, which was an interesting kind of thing when I go back and think about it. So
any animals? Any snakes?
No snakes and stuff, which that's a whole other weird story because I actually had a phobia until a few years ago of snakes. Flat out phobia. I wouldn't be in the same house as a snake. I couldn't go into the Philadelphia reptile house until I was 21.
So what happened?
We'll get to that.
There. We'll say that. We'll say that for later.
But when I was 15, I'm walking in high school, and this other kid who was in my class, a year older than me, he's putting on this jumpsuit. Like, what are you doing, man? You look like you're gonna go work at the gas station. Which Jersey, we don't pump our own gas, so it was kind of believable, right? He's like, no, I volunteer in the ambulance. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah. So I'm like, So he was able to drive. So he brought me over to the station, the town over, Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and showed me around. And I'm like, oh, man. So in this one station, we had two big Freightliners, our ambulances, or rescue, which it's a two-tiered system in New Jersey. We had two boats, an MCI trailer, and a heavy rescue in this one station.
Okay.
And so I'm walking around, and I'm like, oh, man, this is so cool. And they're like, so you gonna join? And I'm like,
Who, me?
So I signed up, and so my first shift was the day after I turned 16.
Really?
And I have been addicted to all things emergency services and rescue and all, doing something every single day since then. And that's been 26 and a half years.
Man, who knows if you didn't see that guy putting on a jumpsuit? Probably a musician somewhere.
Yeah, maybe. It's weird. It's crazy. So, yeah, and so now here I am, and I got around. It's that combination of given opportunities, seizing opportunities, jumping on opportunities, creating opportunities. Has really just brought all these things together. Sometimes it's just, like India. That all started because people had a project and they know, hey, here's this happy guy that does this stuff. Maybe he'd be interested, and then people talk. So, it's been great. Meanwhile, so during residency, which I did a 4-year specialty emergency medicine here at Ryder Trauma, and Mount Sinai, Miami Beach. So that's where I was meeting a bunch of the guys and gals. And I'd hang at Air Rescue. And I've always loved the environment. I do as much green as I can and have some other nonprofits that I help start or I'm on the board of. And again, snakes, don't, no. But I had such a respect for them. And I was hanging out with Scott Mullen, Lisa Wood, right? And I'm at Air Rescue South with the Venom team and just talking about proper care. And I'm like, but wait, that's not what the textbook says. And these doctors say this, and you gotta. And actually, the first snake bite I ever treated was when I was a paramedic in Pittsburgh, and it was actually a cobra bite. Cobras are not indigenous to Pittsburgh. Penguins are if you're a hockey fan, but cobras are not. And so the textbook answer is, classically at least, was where do you get antivenom? Call the zoos, call the hospitals. We did. We called the Pittsburgh Zoo. Pittsburgh Zoo doesn't have cobras, so what don't they have? Antivenom. They had to fly the jet because I worked with Stat Medevac, which is helicopters and some fixed wing. They flew it to Philly, picked up the antivenom, brought it back, and using it. And Ken Katz, one of my dear friends and mentors, was the toxicologist, and we're reading the directions how to mix it together, and boom, that was the first snake bite I ever treated. So now here I am talking with Lisa Wood and Scott Mullen and Jeff Fobb, and I'm learning about all the different things, the different types of antivenom, and the textbooks aren't right. And I just kind of went on this educational rampage. I'm like, we are mistreating people. People think you had to kill it to identify it and bring it in so you can milk the snake and make antivenom. It's not like that.
Doesn't work.
So I really got into helping them treat, and I was learning. And then I started treating bites. And then I was around, doing different stuff. And then when I left residency, I was doing education all over the country in the EMS realm, trying to get the protocols up to date and guidelines up to date, or the MOMS or whatever the local areas call it. And turns out I've treated a lot more than even toxicologists, the poison control centers. And now it's gotten to the point where to get the exotic antivenoms for Miami-Dade Fire Rescue's Venom 1 unit, I am the primary investigator. So a lot of people call it the medical director. I'm not the medical director for Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, but I'm the primary investigator for the Venom unit. So all of those exotic antivenoms is all under my medical license. And stuff. So we do stuff, and I've been presenting for years, doing research, writing papers, being a consultant around. And I had a respect for being on this side. Snaky snake over there. If somebody gets a hurt juice, I'll help them, but the snake shouldn't be there. And then I started Venom 2 in Lake County. And when I was getting them, modeling them after Venom 1, everything these guys and gals have done over the years, and all thanks to Al Cruz starting it all, has been amazing. So I modeled Venom 2 after Venom 1. And when I had to get them certified by FWC to handle venomous snakes and stuff, I literally woke up that morning. I said, all right, it's time. So I woke up having a fear, shower, shave, drive down to Lake County. I was living in Gainesville at the time because I did an EMS fellowship there. And just got my fear. Now I've got a snake hook in each car. I help train people to zoos, and I helped start a snake bite clinic in West Africa. And we're just out in the wild catching cobras and stuff.
Now you're all over
doing things. I'm all over it.
So what do you think it was? It was something from your childhood, or what do you think you had that initial fear or phobia?
I think like most people, snakes have been vilified even by the Bible for years. And look at the cartoons we grow up on. Look at the shows. And I think that unknown, that little bit of fear, even the Jungle Book, right? The original cartoon of the Jungle Book, and the snake comes and he's trying to entice you, and the eyes turn in little spirals. I think that's what kind of did
like
it. And you look, it's like it doesn't have arms, it doesn't have legs, but it's still weird.
Slithers.
Now I'm like they're an important part. We get a lot of medicines from their venom, We get a lot of science from and lab tests from their venom and understanding things. They're an important part of the ecosystem.
Like what type
Also,
of medicines? Like how do you even get there?
look at even the what's the most popular thing that we're on shortage of?
Money.
Ozempic, semaglutide, the weight loss and diabetes medication that a lot of people are doing for like
For
quick
weight
weight
loss,
loss
yeah.
and or type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance. That specifically is modeled after the venom in a Gila monster.
Wow.
Blood thinners, pain medicines, cancer medications, breast cancer treatment. All of these things actually come from different, like venom is not just you bleed to death. Oh, you get paralyzed. It's a combination. It is a cocktail of toxins, and they do all different things. So the more and more they tease it apart, which different proteins and the different toxins do. There was a philosopher who said that the only difference between a poison and a medicine is dose. And he's right.
Absolutely.
And that my basic version of it is everything in moderation, including moderation. So there's a lot of people that also say, oh, well, this is natural, so it's healthier. Okay, cocaine is natural. Arsenic is natural. Cyanide is natural. I don't recommend that you go get tincture of cyanide
All right.
because they're things, but that's where we learn a lot of things. So there's a lot of medicines that come from it. INR, how thin is your blood is a test that was developed because of rattlesnake venom. Crazy, right?
Blowing my mind. So, an important question: Philly fan or Steelers fan?
Steelers.
Boom. All right. Good point. We can continue.
Yes.
I was like, man, I hope he's not a Phillies fan.
I was, well, so Philly's the baseball team. Yes.
Okay.
Growing up, a lot of the Philadelphia Eagles lived in my neighborhood, which was incredible going trick-or-treating when this massive hand hands you what looks like a regular like Kit Kat bar or Hershey bar, but it was really a king size. But you didn't realize it because the hand was huge and very close with a lot of the football players. I actually still have my old history book, which was Glenn Foley's. And Jaws still is really good friends with my father because in the business world, my dad's a typical New York Jewish accountant. Great guy, great mentor. No one in medicine in my family, by the way.
Nobody,
Not
so you're
one
first
person.
one.
I'm absolutely the first one. So, but when I moved to Pittsburgh, that culture of the city, bleeding black and gold, that was always incredible. And the fans were different, and that turned me right onto the Steelers. And then flash forward, Doc Harris, Franco Harris's son, one of my roommates, absolutely one of my best friends. And over the years, meeting a bunch of the Steelers and all, and being part of that culture, I am absolutely a Steelers fan. And when I lived in Africa and India, I'd see random Steelers jerseys and take pictures. I would buy the scarves and the head wraps and stuff in black and yellow.
Any terrible towels?
And terrible towels, yep. And then I actually also, by the way, I skipped this over, but I was one of the first paramedics in Ireland. It was a short stint. Right after I finished paramedic school, I got a job, and it was a whole thing. But I lived there for the summer. Had such a great time. Stayed over. The official ALS program didn't start in Ireland until 2005, 2006.
Really?
This is 2002. After I graduated paramedic school, I was an EMT. National Register, they accepted it over there. But I was a paramedic, and I was on the West Coast in a 4x4. It looked like the boxy Pathfinder, but they call it an Opel Frontera with a kit on the top, green jumpsuit, and my partner named Patty, can't make this up, who was yay tall compared to me. So he looked like a little leprechaun. I looked like a green Teletubby. Nonetheless, we had ACLS drugs and medications and IV stuff. And the docs, in case a physician happened to be on scene, because this is rural Ireland. And so he's like, what would you do for this? What would you do for that? He's like, all right, let me know if I do anything on scene. because they would like do whatever and be like, here, push this every 2 minutes.
Right.
So yeah, they football is football, and I lived in Dublin during the World Cup when Ireland was actually doing well. So I really got into that. What brought me onto that tangent? One of my best friends, Sinead, and the whole family and everything. They're all now Steelers fans because
Naturally.
American football started getting big over there, and I'm like, well, here's the team you're going to cheer for.
Bam.
Black
Just
and
like
gold,
that.
baby.
That's exactly what happened to me because when we first moved to this country, I didn't know football. I knew soccer and cricket. I'm from Jamaica. And my mother said, you're going to like the Yankees and you're going to like the Steelers. And that was it. Still a fan to this very day.
Yep.
But so you're here in Miami and you start going on urban search and rescue. How'd you hook up here with us? Like, let's talk about that.
So always had my obsession, so to speak, with Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, and was working with emergency management a bit, as I mentioned. And the game plan Grossman, who's one of my absolute best friends and mentors, we became close.
Okay.
And we had plans for when I would finish residency. And we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and we're gonna help everything grow and all. And I've always been part into the tech rescue. I mean, it should be medically directed rescue, TRT. The point of extrication. I'm the head author in a bunch of papers right now on position statements. That's all about medically directed rescue. Like extrication, the jaws of life is not to get patients out.
Okay.
The primary is to get access to the patients. Great care anywhere. It's like a Dr. Seuss rhyme. Upstairs, downstairs, inside, outside, on a boat, with a goat, in a house, with a mouse, whatever. So the tools and all is supposed to be 1, access,
All right.
2, assessment, 3, intervention, 4, extrication. And extrication, I truly believe, is a medical procedure. It's got to be medically driven. So, because what's the point? We're not just trying to get a body out in recovery. Right. We're trying to save somebody. So, but we can start nowadays providing care right there.
Absolutely.
So, had my inception with Blackheart and everything Miami-Dade, doing my ride-alongs, fly-alongs all the time, and teaching when I could, and all like that. And Grossman had brought up, he's like, I can't be the only one, willing to go out with the teams and stuff. And I had put out a couple emails to then Chief Perry, but he was very busy. Mm-hmm. But finally got a hold of Chief Webb when he got anointed at one point, and he got that position, and set up a meeting with him. And I'm like, here's who I am. Here's what I want to do. How can I help? And Chief Webb was like, do you want me calling you Dr. ABO? Do you want me calling you Ben? I'm like, my friends call me ABO, Ben, Benny, and it's Benny.
And that's
so
how it all started.
I'm like, whatever. You could call me Steve. I just might not answer because I'm not used to that, and that doesn't
People
make
call
sense.
me Steve all the time. It's called my last name. I just answer because it happens so much.
There you go. So yeah, and so joined the team, and that was about 2015.
Okay, so relatively new
maybe
then.
16. It takes the onboarding and stuff. Did the medical specialist and this and that, and now it's been rock and rolling in history. We're a very active team, trying to help things grow and kind of recreate and grow. And USAR started here.
Yes.
And that's one of the best things I'm proud of. Like,
The
incredible,
original
right?
Foundation.
And go back to the 85 earthquake and when FEMA, everything started. So being part of that, so this is like urban search and rescue 3.0.
Right.
Like it's the same team, but it's a new growth spurt, so to speak. And to be part of that and help, I'll be the dope on the rope. I'll be the doc in the hole, whatever. But anything I can do to support our guys and girls is what I'm all about, with the education and the protocols, going out there and stuff. And even since joining with the team, now it's been part is because we get some big deployments and things, and we've had some large events. but getting a chance to prove my stuff and all this training. Doug Garrettson, retired chief of Pittsburgh EMS. I remember August 2001 in my paramedic class. And he said, "You do not get paid for what you do." And I'm like, huh? You don't get paid for what you do. We get paid for what we are prepared to do.
I like
So
that.
be ready.
I like that.
And what's our motto for Miami-Dade? Always ready, proud to serve. Right? And it still overlaps. But that message, and I say emergency medicine, as a physician, as an EMS physician, as I'm still a paramedic.
Really?
Yep. Still certified as a paramedic. I'm going to challenge to get my national registry back, but I am still, wilderness paramedic certified. I was FPC, critical care. I still have my paramedic in 9 states. I'm going to get my national registry back, though.
Wow.
So to take all that training we've done over the years, and I've had a lot of those once-in-a-lifetime calls, they keep happening to me. But I get to use it, and it's been amazing to kind of use that and learn from it and grow with everybody.
How many deployments have you been on with us? And anything sticks out to mind? Any particular one?
I've been on almost every single deployment since Hurricane Harvey.
Remember that one?
That was 2017, maybe 16?
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. And so, which was crazy because we did a MOBEX where we flew to Teeks to Texas, came back, drove out for Harvey, came back. Then we had Irma.
Yes.
And then we had Maria. So boom, boom, boom. So almost everyone since then. Harvey was big for me because that was my first real deployment. Irma was big for me because, again, next hurricane, skipped a trip of a lifetime, but I wasn't going to leave our team. I definitely would have had FOMO, fear of missing out, and which I do anyway. And I'm really grateful, Chief Webb and everyone has given me opportunity to be the coordinating medical team manager to really kind of do things. I work with Chief Galbert all the time to go over our med cash, what can we change instead of just having a prescribed list.
Right.
But Irma was it was hot, and I used some of the cases from that heat stroke and stuff for teaching other things. And then I'm very proud. I've got this huge and large article. We were the Angels of Irma, Time Magazine cover article.
What?
Yeah, I'll send you that article.
Yeah,
they literally named us the Angels of Irma for our work that we did down in
Did
Marathon
not know
and all.
that.
And so that was big. And then obviously, some of the other deployments have been good, and they've all been very different. I was at Hurricane Katrina, but I was there with DMAT.
Got it.
I was in Haiti, but I was there with DMAT. That was during medical school. I literally called the dean at 5 a.m. I'm like, peace. If I have to repeat my OB rotation or repeat third year, so be it. But I need to be in Haiti.
Wow.
And so I did it. And they
How was
didn't
that
make me repeat.
experience in Haiti?
Haiti was, wow. It was eye-opening, and trying to prep real quick and go and think of what I might see to prepare for that. And then I'm like, I don't know French Creole. So they'd sent out a quick link, here's some quick phrases. It wasn't a translator. This is just some homegrown webpage of common phrases that you might need to know in no particular order. Hello, goodbye, how are you? And number 4 was cansida. Do you have AIDS? And that really put things into perspective. That was the 4th thing on this page that they thought was important to do. And this was right after I just read Paul Farmer's book about setting up AIDS clinics and healthcare in Haiti. So it was interesting. But as you know, and everyone knows, seeing the wreckage, it was really amazing because they all were such a grateful and nice people, right? I mean, we were setting up the mobile hospital and stuff, and the Marines are there, and everyone's just crowding around. They're they want to help.
Right.
They were very respectful that you were helping them. They want to help you help them. Like, no, it's easier and safer. We got this. And they're like, okay, thank you. And they would just sit there and wait. And wait. If it was the US, they'd be demanding.
Right.
Like, okay, we're about to open. Hold on. Oh, I want this X-ray now. Well, like that's the kind of stuff we have here. They're so grateful. And then I see the kids just taking debris and making toys to play with. I mean, this brought me back to like what I envisioned of the 50s with like, oh, I've got a ring and a stick and I'm just going down the street. They were making their own toys out of some of the debris while we're setting stuff up, thankful, waiting in line so we can try to organize it. And then on top of that, dealing with all the catastrophe and everything. So they're very grateful people, and I appreciate the respect. We were able to do a lot of great work for DMAT, for urban search and rescue, other social services. I mean, that is an incredible country. So that was just kind of mind-blowing. To take off in med school, and I'm supposed to be doing an OB rotation. And I became close to that doc, and I said, when I came back from my deployment, I was like, "Hey, by the way, I delivered like 28 babies, helped deliver 28." And over the few weeks, she's like, "You're good. You don't need to repeat."
Awesome. Glad that worked out.
So it was nuts. So there's Haiti and stuff, and from the USAR perspective, you know, Harvey and everything, and then of course Surfside, was monumental for me. And then Hurricane Ian also, that both historic and monumental for me. Surfside because of everything that it was.
Right.
And unfolding, it's, you know, building collapse is, I don't want to say the holy grail of like what we do for urban search and rescue, but it helped start it. But I lived a block and a half from there during residency. I personally lost 4 people in the Surfside building.
Really?
Collapse. Being there for our team, that the deployment, it was like the ultimate mega code for disaster. I was applying at the time for IST. And I remember talking to Joe Holly, one of the physicians. He's the medical director for Memphis. He's already IST. He's like, "Oh, you'd be really good for this." Da, da, da. And I'm doing the application stuff. And then boom, Surfside. Right. So I get there, I get on scene, start developing everything. I mean, it was the ultimate mega code. You had building collapse, you had heat stroke, hypothermia, trench foot, rashes. We had lacerations, we had burns, hazardous materials, eye injuries, foot injuries, back injuries, you know, potential amputations. I had the canine to take care of, the psychosocial, the religious fighting. Why aren't you doing anything? That all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Because that everyone was just scared, you know, and then seeing that all kind of come together. And then that was still in the middle of COVID.
Right.
So balancing all those things and kind of coordinating and being the host physician, so to speak, was pretty incredible experience. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. Like, we can't turn back. We can't pull a share and turn back time. We can't make things unhappen. But I know so many of the things I've learned, and I teach it, and I know if that kind of thing happens again, that I'm prepared, and I can also help others be prepared. So that was monumental for me. And then Hurricane Ian, which was in my backyard. I live in Naples now. Hurricane Ian took out, those were my departments. And it was very weird. That was the first ever true air operations.
First one for me as well.
It
was.
Yeah. That was the first. Wait, that was your first deployment?
No, air operations.
Air, yeah. I mean, for the whole system, true air operations, that was the first. That real, true, we've always worked with National Guard, but the air ops with the Chinooks and the Blackhawks and the Lakotas, like that was interesting. But all those islands that we went to are also my departments. I'm medical director for Sanibel and Captiva, which are ALS non-transport. Pine Island, Matt Lachey, BLS, in the process of becoming ALS. So there were no medics on that island until we got there.
Really?
It was a whole thing. There's no, like, county EMS wasn't there until day 6 or 7.
Wow.
That was all us. We had ALS equipment. And I had somebody, one of the EMS chief for the fire department, who's helping me make it ALS. He also works for the county EMS. So he was allowed to because he was already credentialed. And then I actually had one of my dear friends, one of my firefighters for the city of Gainesville, came down, and he was the medic. So we can continue doing USAR stuff. He was the medic on the engine.
Got it.
So that was a whole thing. Bonita Springs, Iona McGregor, City of Naples, those are all my departments. So I was there during Ian wearing 2 hats or helmets, kind of coordinating. So that was another one that was really crazy to learn from. So those are the big ones that really stick out, the 4 big ones to me. Even though, like, I got hurt in Hurricane Florence, I popped my soleus muscle, even though I blamed Shep for it.
Shep, what did Shep do? Shep do?
I love that guy. I love him. I'm really sorry, man. We were trying to do some exercise and something active, and we were on a football field because we were staying at a rec center. We'd been deployed for 2.5, almost 3 weeks at this point. And I'm not the most athletic anymore and play kickball, and I kicked it. I'm on first.
Listen, I pulled my quad playing kickball.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So I'm on first, just standing there, waiting for the next kicker to kick it. And I just felt this wallop. There were random softballs, like on the grass, just left there, not from us. And it felt like someone just pegged me from about 5 feet away with a softball right in the calf. Pop. And I'm like, oh, I turn around. Shep's the only one standing there. He's playing first base. He's like, what? I'm like, what? I'm dropping F-bombs. I'm cursing. I'm coming down on him. And he's such a great guy, right? And I'm like so upset with him because I thought he pegged me randomly. I'm like, why would you do this? What are you talking about? There's a softball right there. Like, caught you red-handed. I couldn't walk. I'm trying to like run to second. I fall. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And then I realized, I'm like, oh my God. So I reached down, I test my Achilles. Like, okay, my Achilles didn't pop. And then the bruising had already started. I had trouble plantar flexing, putting my toes down. Well, I have an ultrasound because I had my own personal one, and now we have one in our cache. That's how I roll, man. I'm an EMS physician.
Big time, bro.
And I realized, I look at my muscle, and I realized that soleus muscle in the middle of your calf had ruptured.
How?
It just popped, just like people's Achilles pop and stuff. Just sooner or later it can.
Wow.
So no more kickball for a while.
It's a dangerous sport.
I'll go back to my varsity full contact origami.
Somebody just said you're in the process of possibly writing a book, or are you, or are you going to, of puns?
I've been told many times that I need to. I'm fluent in Hungarian, and there are people better than me, but I pontificate often. And when I hear people's eye rolls, I'm like, yes, that's a winner. But yeah, some people suggested it, and I actually started doing it. I have a whole.
So you actually
notepad.
doing it? You have like a ghostwriter doing it for you?
No, I am literally writing. I'm putting together a list of my ABOisms or puns. When I say something, I hope I remember it, and I just jot it down quick on my phone. So I have the list. So I'm putting that together. When at the same time doing all this other stuff, and then I'm actually writing a textbook for a real one for EMS physicians for procedures in the field. And a lot of people don't realize too. Like there's a difference between medical director, EMS physician. It's this gradient, right? So medical directors, as any physician could ever see, they might just be a signature, a ghost director. Some are a little more into writing the policies and taking an active part in the education. Along that gradient, then there's EMS physicians, which are a whole society, and it's growing. It's the largest and fastest growing subspecialty in emergency medicine. Faster than toxicology and pediatrics, And then there's true street EMS physicians. Like I have a response truck. I do street response calls. That's the best way to. Jim Page used to say the best way to QA really starts when the medical director sets foot on the ambulance or rescue, right? So doing that active role, and then there's also what I call like there's that all hazards EMS physician, but then there's what I call paramedoc, because there are a number of us that are paramedics still, and and an EMS physician. Will Smith, not the Fresh Prince, but Will Smith is another globally renowned wilderness EMS doc. He's one of the. There are four of us. They wrote it. Now I'm one of the directors, but the Wilderness EMS Medical Directors course, where we train medical directors to be able to handle and talk about like protocols for wilderness stuff. Because everyone would look at me like, "Oh, there's Dr. ABO with his wilderness medicine. When are you going to climb Mount Everest?" Never. Like no. I'll helicopter up to base camp. I'll rappel when I need to, and stuff. I actually have a fear of heights, but I'm literally jumping out of helicopters or winching up and down, whatever's needed. I'll climb the ladders, the fires, whatever.
What needs to be done.
Whatever needs to be done, we do it, right? And that led to safety third articles and all that stuff. But it's kind of nuts. So I'm one of these all hazards. I'll do it, and I want to motivate people to want to do the same thing, and go because whatever people need, and different stuff. So yeah,
Have you always wanted to help people? Like that's just always.
It's always been part of my nature. Like, my parents would talk about like even like again the micro machines and the Legos. I'm like playing like they're helping each other and doing stuff, and it's just always been my nature. I'm always volunteering. I'm always putting out there whatever I can do to help.
I heard something. I'll take that out. But I remember you telling me about a time that you were in New York and you had an incident on the subway. I think I was just doing some research and came across that. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was a resident. I was living here in Miami Beach, and vacation was I drove one of my attending's cars from Miami up to New York City.
Oh,
So I drive it up there, and then he paid for me to fly back. But I see my family's in New York. I have a bunch of friends in New York. My I grew up in South Jersey. So I go up there, and it's June. It's hot. It's muggy. And I remember running into some friends. I'm specific to paint this picture. My hair's all over the place. I'm in shorts, little cargo shorts. I'm wearing a black t-shirt. It's one of my favorite t-shirts. Second to my, fire department shirts. But it says, "I dyslexia heart." And people look at it like, "I don't get your shirt." I'm like, "Oh, you need to be tested." Go figure. Who knew that 10 years later I'd be diagnosed with dyslexia, actually. Yeah, I'm dyslexic. I put the sexy in dyslexia.
bam.
So I didn't even realize there's a whole bunch of tires. And nonetheless, so it's hot, it's muggy. I'm waiting to go back to my friend's apartment in Jersey City. So I'm at the 9th and Chris stop. Go downstairs. There's no signal. So I'm painting this picture for you, right? And it's subway stop. We're in the platform in the middle, track on either side, and then wall. It's just 6-foot drop, track, wall. In the middle, I'm just people watching because there's nothing else to do. And my train is late. And I'm watching this guy, this kid, looked, mid-20s, 6 foot tall, talking with these two cute gals. And he just started acting weird, and he just started walking out and took another step and went down. You could hear his head, dong, hit. So his head basically went 12 feet because he's 6 feet tall. It's 6 foot drop.
Right.
And yeah, I ended up jumping down, and that's what led to the TED Talks and this and that. But basically, he went down. I'm like, I run over to the edge, and I'm like, "What the F are you doing, man?" He didn't move.
Like, oh, this is serious.
So I go into R mode. You know that mode.
Time to go to work.
Right? So I point. There's people there. There's maybe about 20 to 30 people waiting for trains. And I'm like, "You call 911. You pull the fire alarm." Because I knew that there wasn't a signal down there.
Right.
And I look. There's no train coming. So I jump down. He's face down, completely out, unresponsive. I scoop under his armpits, and I roll him over. So now I'm laying on the tracks with him on top of me as I'm pounding him on his chest pounding, pounding. Wake up, wake up, wake up. He's completely out. Head lack, bleeding not too profusely. So I kind of like prop him up. So he's like sitting up, and I get up on a knee. And then I prop him up a little more. I get him up onto my knee on top. And then I get basically him standing, toss his arms over, and I'm pushing him up from underneath.
So weren't you like, where's that? Hey, I need some help down here.
So people are there with like their cameras and this and that. No one's helping. One of the little cute girls that he was with jumps down on the subway also, but all she's doing is screaming. I think it was only me and the dogs in the city that could hear her. It was so high pitched. But I get him up. I like help get her up. And I don't know if you've noticed, I'm not 6 foot tall. The platform is 6 feet, and it's not like a swimming pool. Like when we're doing our physical agility and that stuff, and you're climbing the wall, right? There's something you can put your feet on.
Right.
This is a ledge.
Yeah, it's nothing.
And so I'm kind of hanging there and push off. And finally, the last bit, someone had helped that guy. Had helped me get the guy up, right? So he's up there, and I'm hanging, and you feel this push of wind.
You know that train.
And I'm
coming.
like, I'm hanging there, and I look, and I see reflection down the tunnel. And people used to say when I was doing my medical training, oh, you're almost done medical school. You see the light at the end of the tunnel? And I'm like, yeah, I'm almost done. And I used to kid around saying, I just hope it's not a train.
An actual train is coming.
And now an actual train's coming. So, spoiler alert, I survived.
Boom. Glad that
I gave it
out.
one more trick. I thought I would just have to like crawl with the rats or whatever was under there. But one more pull up, and I pulled him back because he was kind of over the edge. And then a couple seconds later, maybe 5 or 8 seconds, I don't know. It felt like nothing, but whoosh, it comes flying through. This wasn't even our train. This was like just passing through.
Yeah.
And then he starts waking up, and he's combative, and people are like doing this. People are taking pictures, and I'm like, again, hey, you call 911. Hey, you pull the fire alarm. A guy grabs her. No, don't call 911. There are cameras everywhere. They know. I'm like, so? Do you want me to throw you on the track? Then someone else is like, oh, let him walk it off. I'm like, he already walked onto the tracks, right? Because he's fighting. And he's laying on top of me now, and I'm putting pressure on his head. I'm trying to do the wallet check. The girls had disappeared that he was with. I'm doing a walletectomy, trying to identify the guy. Is there a medical alert? Someone else is like, oh, let him walk it off. I'm a physician. I'm like, I'm an EMS physician and a paramedic. What kind of physician are you? And he just like walks away. Probably like a psychiatrist or dermatologist or something, right? Or podiatrist, charged by the foot. Anyway, thank you for that.
Boom.
So it was kind of nuts, and you know, people finally, police come like, oh, what happened? And I'm like, you have gloves? How far out is fire? What happened? No, he fell. Fell off of what? This was like a whole skit. Fell off of what? This is the Port Authority Police. The platform. Onto what? The track. How did he get up here? I pulled him up. How did you get him down? What? It was this whole thing. I'm like, dude. And he finally realized, I'm like, I'm an EMS physician. I need the fire department. He's like, Doc, what do you need? I'm like, gloves. So they hand me gloves. Fire department comes. They're not paramedics. EMS comes. Tell them what happened. They take the guy, and people are still taking pictures, and the cops were like, I'll throw you in the tracks if you don't stop taking pictures. And the crowd changes, you know, because everyone leaves. Medics leave. Thanks, Doc. Fire department starts to clean up. The paramedics are like, thanks, Doc, and they go. The firefighters start cleaning up the trash, and the cops are like, don't worry about it. We got this. So they leave. Thanks, Doc. And then the cops just kind of kick the trash in a little pile, and they leave. Thanks, Doc.
Thanks,
so
Doc.
I took a picture like the trash, the leftover, and whatnot. But thank goodness the cops thanked me.
Right.
Because now I've missed my train. It's missed me.
Literally.
The crowd has completely changed. There's a new gaggle of women and public, you know, civilians coming down, and they're coming down, and I'm standing there in shorts, hair all over the place, black t-shirt that says I dyslexia heart, and I'm covered in this guy's blood.
Probably look at you like, what?
It's New York City. People would have, if they're looking at me like, what's going on? If the cops didn't thank me, they would have thought I killed somebody, right? And so they're like, oh, what happened? I'm like, nothing. Someone fell. Fell off of what? And this one woman in particular is kind of interrogating me. And it turns out she's with a bunch of friends, but she's a reporter.
Got it.
A maternity, right? So, nothing happened. Does anyone have any hand sanitizer? No one had. I'm like, do you have any moisturizer? So I'm using this woman's like cucumber lavender hydrating stuff to clean the blood off. And they're like, oh, the news needs to know about this. I'm like, no, just whatever. This is what we do, whatever. Like, yeah. And I thought about it, and I was like, all the people that didn't do anything, people that actually refused to call 911. It's that notion of like a busy highway versus an empty road. If I pull over, if I'm stuck with a broken pop tire on 95 here in Miami, no one's stopping. Someone else will. But an old country road, someone's going to stop. Right?
Absolutely.
That's the way the U.S. is, at least.
Yes.
And I want people to want to help. So it's like, all right, so I'll do this interview. So I did an interview the next day, and then flew down, and it hit international news. I had a 6 a.m. flight from New York, landed in Fort Lauderdale. I landed at 9:30. I had to Uber to my apartment, get my scrubs, and go to work at 11. By the time I got there, it had blown up. I didn't understand why there was all this media. The news and everyone was in front of Mount Sinai.
Really?
Because the article that came out, the initial one was Miami doctor or Miami Beach doctor saves man from incoming train.
Wow.
And it got nuts, and then turned into like Howard Stern and
oh, you did
everything.
all that?
Yeah. TVs. Yeah, did a whole bunch. Because then, Howard Stern, it was funny because Stern was on a little vacation for break and robbing them. And then they were talking about it on air, like going through the news, like, oh man, like this happened and that happened. And then I heard, because people were listening, like, hey, they're talking about you on air right now. So then I called into the show, then I'm interviewed, and I was like, yeah, I never know what happened. And actually, it was funny because Stern's like, do you, how did he phrase it? He was like, he said, do you know what happened? Or, oh, I would have looked down at the guy and just said goodbye. Like, and I'm like, yeah, it's not my nature. Do you know what happened to the guy? I'm like, actually, I have no idea what happened. And I left my business card, like, to transport with him, like, let me know, whatever. Well, one of the cops, the original ones, was listening to the Howard Stern show, and he had my contact info, and he called me and told me that the guy ended up doing fine, was discharged after 2 days.
That's awesome, though. Everything
so
lined
I
up.
finally got my thing. But yeah, all the news and stuff, and actually some of the reporters that covered me here, good friends with Tamika Beckham, like, who was with Channel 10 back then here. And then got kind of like a recognition from Miami Beach city commissioners and different stuff. So it's been interesting. In fact, you'd appreciate, I get called from the city commissioners for Miami Beach, because I was living and working there. They wanted to recognize me. So I knew Miami Beach Fire was undergoing contract negotiations. I get a hold of Adonis.
Yes.
Adonis is the union president, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, hey, they are recognizing me for this. I want to recognize the real everyday heroes. So, and I already told this idea to like to others. I'm tight with a lot of the beach guys and gals. So I'm wearing my usual bow tie and stuff because I'm at ABO, and go in, and I hadn't met the chief yet of Miami Beach. And so walks in Engine 1, Rescue 1, Ladder 1, off duty. Everyone's in uniform. All these Miami Beach firefighters are kind of starting to kind of pile in, right? The fire chief is like, what's going on? Wow. And so when they recognized me, I said, I was like, thank you, I really appreciate it. You know, it's what we do. But I'm like, who you need to also thank are the everyday heroes. Like, this is I'm an ordinary person put in an extraordinary position. And when Channel 10 and 7 asked me would I do it again, I said no, and I looked at the camera. I'm like, yeah, because I was like, Mom, sorry, but yes, it's our nature, right?
So what we do.
But I was like, you need to recognize these everyday heroes that are risking it every day for complete strangers. And because I wanted to recognize the firefighters, the paramedics, because you guys, it's a lot easier. I don't work in the ER anymore, but it's a lot easier for me there to be controlled. And it can get dangerous in the ER. I'm not saying it doesn't, but you're in the thick of it. Everyone's running out of the burning building. We're running in. They're coming down the stairs. We're going up the stairs, or we're making stairs, or we're coming down off the ropes, or we're like Maggie and the others, like kind of like rappelling in and stuff, right? That's what we do. So I was recognizing them, and so
Thank you for that.
yeah, it's important. People need to be recognized and have motivation, and understand, because the lay public, they don't understand what we do. They don't understand how we do it. That's why we also get people that are like, you're going to the supermarket with a fire truck? I pay your salary. No. Whoa.
Yeah, we get that sometimes.
Yeah. Or they're blocking the intersection and then they give us the evil eye like woo-woos and bling-bling. Like, come on. Yeah.
It's awesome, man. So you did a Howard Stern show. You got to talk about Shark Week, man. How could we not even mention that?
So, yeah, it's all
I don't like sharks. I have a phobia of sharks.
Yeah.
So
do you want to know how to know if there are sharks in the water?
Tell me.
So, you need like a silver spoon. It doesn't matter if there's a wood handle or whatever, but you need a spoon.
You being serious here?
Look at his face. Come on. Truth, 100% truth here.
All right, let's do it.
So, you take the spoon, go to the water, fix them up. If it tastes salty,
there's sharks in the water.
Sharks in the water. Now, I admitted that it's truth. It is. You asked if I'm being serious. I didn't answer that question. Anyway, so, yeah, cool, respectful thing. So I've been a rescue diver and all for a while. And one of the producers from one of the shark, it's not like Discovery Channel just sends out Discovery Channel cameras. So one of the producers that did one of the episodes, he also did Danger Coast, which was the TV show on the Miami-Dade fireboat.
Oh, really?
So, which Nick DiGiacomo and others, obviously on it a bunch. And they're like, hey, we need some more rescue divers and safety people and set medics for Shark Week. And so he called Nick. And Nick's like, yeah, I'm willing to do it, but, there's only one doc who's perfect that I'll work under to do that kind of stuff. Wilderness and EMS and rescue. And so Chris Simpson, Nick DiGiacomo, and I started, and that was our first episode. Laws of Jaws, 2016. Did the safety for it. The emergency action plan and everything. And I realized, set medics, they'll have a medic, but they can't really do anything. They're just like boo-boo, Band-Aid, maybe an AED. And so it turned into, we did safety for a bunch of episodes, and basically I provide concierge medicine on set, the emergency action plan and everything. So Shark Week, a majority of the episodes, Shark Fest, which is National Geographic, a bunch of Nat Geo Wild, other stuff. It's been growing for over the years, all over the Bahamas. The most amazing trip that I did was Cocos. Cocos Island is the southernmost piece of land in North America. It's southeast of Costa Rica. It's technically protected by Costa Rica. It's halfway to the Galapagos from California. Flying to Costa Rica. So, this is different. You're used to being what? Most guys are 10-minute engine medics, and then let rescue get there and da-da-da. So you have your backup, right? So I fly into Costa Rica, 32-hour boat ride to this island. 32 hours by boat to get there. Planes can't get there. And land. There's no land. It's a little island. This is actually the island that gave Michael Crichton the idea for Jurassic Park.
Oh, really?
So every day I would wake up on the boat and look at the island and just na 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 na. It was nuts. The only land that I set foot on was when I dove down. Like I didn't go onto the island.
No?
We were just diving and filming the whole time. We were looking for a certain tiger shark that killed someone a couple of years earlier. It was beautiful. It's a preserve. You have to be advanced diver to go out and stuff. That was the most incredible trip. So 2 weeks out there, out at sea, around this island, on this research vessel. It would have taken 40 hours to get to the nearest hospital and 1,000 feet elevation if I needed a dive chamber. So I have to be prepared for everything from dive emergencies to trauma, hit your head to GI illnesses, whatever. Yeah, it was crazy. That was the best one that I've done.
Anything critical happen on a set that you
On
had
that one, we were just starting. We were just starting to get filming ready. You know, see people were a little seasick getting out there and whatnot. And one of the sound guy, Josh, his buddy lives in Fort Lauderdale and started this company that makes these awesome waterproof, beach-proof, like Pelican cases with speakers built in, like Bluetooth speaker and stuff.
Really? I'll have to look him up.
I'm gonna hook you up with one. It's my favorite like gift that I give. He was telling me about it, and he was playing his because we were listening to music. And I'm on the satellite. I literally, by the way, I'm connected to Satellite Messenger, and I'm doing medical consults for snake bites and for my fire departments from there. And so I'm on the back of the boat. I'm on the satellite Wi-Fi.
I can't even get a signal in my elevator.
I'm trying to order this Pelican case, and I'm like, "Hey, Josh!" And he heard me out because I just want to know which one I should get. And he's coming over to me, and one of the shark camera things, he hits his foot on, and he dislocated his toe and broke it. So that was the biggest injury, thank goodness, that we had. And so I look, and, give him a little medicine. I'm like, "Man, what is that?" And as soon as he looked, I go, "Kabah!" Popped his toe back in. Buddy taped it. We continued filming. That was the biggest of that trip, thank goodness.
Right.
But I don't get paid for what I do. I'm paid for what I'm prepared to do.
What you're prepared to do. You gotta
So,
remember that one.
but we've hit
That's a keeper.
Cocos, Bahamas, South Africa, Australia, and then that work plus the Venom being known in the Venom world led to my TV show, Kings of Pain.
Yes.
Which was fun. And then I've done some other shows like the Go Big Show, which was Snoop Dogg and that comedian. It's a mix of like Jackass and America's Got Talent. They had 2 seasons of it, filmed during COVID. So I was the medical director for the show because it was all filmed during COVID. So we had a whole bubble and we'd talent like one guy, we'd get into a sleeping bag with a bunch of rattlesnakes.
Uh-huh.
There was a single-handed archer and like an armless Tommy gun. There was some crazy stunts.
Tommy gun.
Yeah, it was hosted by and produced by Snoop Dogg, who's a very nice guy. One of the biggest injuries I had, it's my favorite accident report. One of the stagehands fist bumped Snoop. Hypothetically speaking, someone fist bumped Snoop, cut his or her hand on his ring, and I had to update the tetanus shot. It was my favorite injury report. But yeah, so that's some crazy stuff. So I've done a bunch of the TV stuff. But Kings of Pain, we did 2 seasons. And it started, it was supposed to be about 3 of us. These 2 guys going around the world getting bit and stung on purpose.
On purpose.
On purpose and rating it. And I talk about the venom, the toxins, the truths and stuff. The first couple of episodes, I was behind camera, but I was still working technically for full-time for the University of Florida, even though I gave my leave. So I didn't want to get in trouble, so I stayed behind camera. But then the other episodes and then all of season 2 I was on. But literally, yeah, these 2 guys, now it's an Australian and American, go around the world getting bit and stung on purpose. Some things venomous, some things not. Scorpion stings, tarantulas, centipedes, which are what nightmares are made of, like this. You could hear the legs click.
I'm still trying to get past on purpose.
Yeah.
And how was that? How would anything serious happen out there?
Yeah. We had the last episode of season 1, we were in Bali, Indonesia. And we caught the world's largest snake. It's the only snake that actually hunts humans. Like you've seen online where like randomly like This villager, like they open the snake and like a little lady comes out. That's one of these. They get up to 30 feet. It's called a reticulated python. It's bigger than anaconda. It's bigger than these Burmese pythons. And they don't just surround you and to asphyxiate you. They do that to crush you so that you fit into. So a lot of people are like, oh, these pythons, they choke you to death. And they just unhinge their jaw like my ex-girlfriend to swallow you. Like you're not going to fit. So they literally also not just asphyxiate you, but they crush you like your ribs and stuff. And it
So you can fit in their mouth.
So you can fit in their mouth. Yep. And there was a guy taller than me that was killed and swallowed by one 2 islands over, which was about 100 miles, a couple days before we were doing the hunt. Because we were out in the wild, like that was part of the show. We would be in the wild searching for these animals.
How do you search for these?
So we were in Thailand, we were in Bolivia, in the middle Bolivian jungle. We were in Baja, Mexico. We were in South Africa. Season 2 was supposed to be, we had all these different countries planned, but they wanted to change it up, plus COVID, blah, blah, blah. So we filmed all in California. We brought the wildlife to us, which was a whole other interesting thing. We were actually in this desert right where they filmed part of Blazing Saddles and all these awesome movies. I'm like, this is cool. We had to make a tank. So we did jellyfish, all these, or not jellyfish, starfish, scorpionfish, lionfish, and they got their hurt on. But that retic, I actually had to do emergency surgery because he had a huge hematoma under his arm. And, well, first, during the bite, I was right there to help control the snake. We had people on the different sides. I also had a bottle. It looked like a bottle of water, but it was actually Indonesian moonshine. The high acidity, like if the snake latched on, you pour this, I would squeeze this into the mouth.
Oh, really?
And it would release, which I had to do. Yeah, my hand was like in the mouth and it was on him, but he had this huge hematoma and I put pressure on it right away. No blood vessels or anything were hit, but he couldn't feel these fingers. And I didn't know if it either cut the nerve, if it was the hematoma putting pressure on, or what ended up happening was a tooth went through the nerve and split the fibers.
Wow.
So yeah, no, some crazy stuff happened, and they also like passed out a few times and nauseous, and I didn't give them any pain medicine. I would treat the nausea, syncope, dysrhythmias. Season 2, I actually let them get shocked by an electric eel. I had them on the heart monitor. So I actually have you see sinus tack, because they were getting more nervous, bing, 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 and then bop, you can see when they got shocked.
Wow.
It was pretty neat.
I'm going to go back and check that out, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the most popular shows ever in the History of History channel. It's on Hulu Plus, and it's really big in different countries. You'll appreciate that there was an ad for season 1. It became, there's no script, and it's completely real. Like these guys, I love them, but they're not good enough to act. Like these legit interactions and reactions. And I'm used to preaching. I want you to be, Rick, I want you to be empathetic, not sympathetic, right? What's the difference? Not just spelling. Sympathetic is, I'm sorry you're in pain. Empathetic is, I feel your pain. I don't want to be empathetic, right? So it turned into this whole viral thing of my facial expressions in the background because I'm right there in case something happens. And I'm like, so it turned into the whole thing. So the ultimate time for a TV spot in Germany is Thursday evenings at 8:15 p.m. That's when David Hasselhoff is on. Right? That's the ultimate time. Everyone watches TV then.
All right.
So our season 1 was on in Germany at 8:15 p.m. How do I know this? Because there was an ad, and I sent it to an EMS physician. I'm like, what does this say? It's a German ad, really hokey polka kind of music, and it's just a video montage of my facial expressions. And the caption says, if this is the face of your doctor, you should be worried. So he translates it for me. I'm like, are you serious? He's like, yes. And he's like, wow, 8:15. That's how I found out about German TV time.
Yeah, I would have never thought 8:15.
Yeah.
Where's it going?
So yeah, that was a fun show. I'm still hoping for season 3.
All right, maybe it'll happen.
So it's been, from TV work to Venom work, international consulting, disaster, pun book writing.
How do you have?
Life's
Do you have any
been
me
good.
time? I mean, like so when you just sit down and just relax. Is there any time for you?
Now I'm finally starting to get to everything was always about everyone else before me. Maybe it's because I'm dyslexic, but you was always before I. And now I'm finally like slowing down. I literally schedule in me time.
Got it.
Now started dating somebody. Now it's like us time, me time. Slow down. I used to kid around and say my alarm clock is East Coast time. My watch is West Coast time. That gets me an extra 3 hours a day to get stuff done.
That's
But now I'm finally
definitely got to make
slowing
some me
down.
time for yourself.
Absolutely. So that's why I have my music room. I travel when I can. I vacation, which is different than travel.
Okay.
Culture indulgence, adventures, experiences versus, and we live where most people vacation, so it's
Right.
kind of nice. Yeah,
And you're still not home yet. Just got back from up the coast,
yeah.
and that was a short trip. And got some storms brewing down south again. So who knows? In a couple of days, you could be
We'll
back
see.
on the road again.
Always ready, proud to serve.
All
Always ready, proud to serve. So my gears, I'll rehab it once I get home. See the dogs. That right now is part of the hardest thing with all this. Like when we suddenly go, like had to leave. When I first moved, because I moved from Miami to Gainesville, and then I was back and forth Gainesville to Miami. And then I moved to Naples, and Bonita Springs, and literally I drove down with the dog, Otis, my assistant medical director. I'm MD1, he's MD1.5. It says
We
it
have
on
some
his collar.
dachshunds or something like that.
Yeah. Yep. Miniature dachshunds. And I picked my dad up at the airport for guys' weekend. We hang out over the weekend, dropped him off at the airport, and an hour later, Chief Webb calls me and says, "Hey, we're mounting up to go to Puerto Rico." So, all right. So I quick had to like get my dog somewhere, and then that's it for Dorian. I mean, that's another deployment that really kind of because we go to Puerto Rico, nothing happened.
Right.
Because this is right after Maria. So we come to Florida and waiting to protect Florida, and it never really hits. And then it goes up the coast. So we're in the hotel and in training. And I was roommates with one of my best friends, Miles Kaplan.
Miles.
And he was on his carnivore diet. So I'm just ordering like Uber Eats steaks and stuff. But like at the same time, we're with Task Force 6. And
Yes.
so I'm doing training. I'm doing ultrasound training. We're doing suturing. Dr. Lieberman, Howie, another dear friend of mine.
Got to get him on here.
Yeah, absolutely. He and I dragged him on the team, and he loves it. But we were doing training. We're sitting in the hotel waiting, and then finally the storm passes up, and then we scoot over to. That was 28 days total.
It was long.
For those of us that went to Bahamas, because it was 3 or 4 days Puerto Rico, come back, week and a half here, one night in Orlando,
Yes. Remember that one.
come
I didn't go
back,
to Puerto Rico to Bahamas, but that trip I did.
and we didn't go as part of FEMA to the Bahamas. That was Miami-Dade Fire Rescue, Task Force 1, and then City of Miami, Task Force 2. We went. So I'm like, we're not wearing any of our FEMA or state stuff. That was on the tab of Miami-Dade helping the Bahamas because they were asking for help. So I'm like, I don't have Miami. I have like station shirts that people give me, but I don't have uniform shirts.
Right.
So they gave me a stack of like uniform shirts, and I put the Miami-Dade crest on my helmet. So then I had to buy a new helmet because, I mean, that means a lot to me. So I have my neon green helmet that I always wear. Over there, that was a long deployment, but being away from the dogs is tough.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. Every time a ship comes up, you got to scramble to find
So quick go, and luckily, it's funny. Surfside, was in the middle of the night, And when I realized how long I'd be there, and I texted my dog walker, who would sometimes babysit. I'm like, hey, I need to go to
Gotta
Miami
go.
for the weekend. Like, can you walk the dog? Like, I don't know when I'll be back. Just sure, I'll pick up the dog. And then it turned into like for the weekend, and she's like, I'm about to go away. What do I do? So I'm like, okay, if you can drop the dog back off at the house, and then I had somebody else come and pick up the dog that the dog trusts.
Right.
It was a whole thing. It got a little tough. I'm always impressed too, right? Like the union, especially your union, does amazing things. When we sign out, and I don't know if you realize like how much it means to see you guys do this. When we check out to mobilize, we put on their contact. So I put my father's email. So he says, oh, the team is safe. We're now in this part. We're
Yes.
doing work, blah, blah, blah. Oh, they're coming home. Here's right. But we also do a lot of, hey, things are coming here. How are things at home? When we were coming back from Harvey, they were asking all of us, who needs help? How's your house?
Right.
Your wife and kids okay? Do they need help? Or husband and kids, depending on who the teammate is. Do you need help boarding up the house? Do you need help prepping for things? This and that. I never had anyone else. My house is always fine. But like seeing that and that interaction of people kind of reaching out for stuff, it didn't matter if they lived in Palm Beach. It didn't matter if they lived in Miami. It didn't matter if they lived in Naples. The brotherhood for everything and sisterhood is just... That's one of the things that I love about the fire service. It is a band of brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And that's what's incredible. And being part of that and knowing, late last night, having the trust, I got back, I was too tired. We got back late,
Yes.
stayed, you
Still
and I and
dragging.
a couple others.
Still dragging.
Yeah. You and a couple others and we took the vans back and stuff, but I was too tired my girlfriend's away anyway. I was too tired to drive back home. It's about a 90-minute drive to do it safely. So I just stayed here. But even late last night, like, hey, Doc, thanks. Got back. Hey, I've got this concern. Cool. Like always have that concern. That brotherhood is just awesome.
Yeah, man. It's definitely there, man. And the guys will surprise you, man. I mean, that's why we're who we are.
Yep.
But anything else you want to mention, man? I think we kind of covered everything, man. We went all.
We got international. We got TV. We got fears.
Fears.
We got the brotherhood. That was the big. You dug deep.
Yeah, man.
It was good.
Yeah, man, it was a good talk.
Who knows what the future holds? I still am jonesing for a more. I'm very proud to be part of this family. And there's a lot of things, and I proudly I correct them to a certain extent. A lot of people in San Diego fire and all over, and they're like, when they think urban search and rescue, they think of me. They think of Task Force 1. They affiliate immediately, like us as a department, and then the team and me, and they kind of everything is like that Olympics logo where it kind of like overlaps. I do look forward and always have hopes that there's going to be even more stuff that I can do with and for the department. But yeah, I think we hit it all.
I think we hit it all, man. Maybe come down and be our medical director or something like that.
I would love to be one of the medical directors or the medical director here. That is why I did not leave Florida.
Really?
When I was applying for fellowships, I interviewed at Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, Harvard, Boston, but they were all afraid. And when I was kind of applied, after Dr. Grossman left, I would needed to be able to be down. And then over the years too, it's part of why I left the University of Florida. I turned down dream jobs in other states because I have hopes and I've been building things in Florida. So yeah, literally I've said bye to some big cities.
We got to make that happen. We got to make some phone calls.
Yeah, I would love it. I would love to continue to work with you. and in that aspect work for you.